I want to talk to you about how to get your product into big box stores. So the whole idea is to land a spot in the retail big leagues. Don't go anywhere if you love this kind of conversation because you are going to be satisfied. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, and this is how to get your product into big box stores. Okay, how do you land a spot in the retail big leagues? This is very important. So when we talk about big box retailers, what is that? Who are those big box retailers? We're talking about companies that are big enough to command a large portion of the American wallet. So you're thinking about Walmart, you're thinking about Costco, you're thinking about Sam's Club, you're thinking about BJ's. We have the Home Depot, we have Target, and we have Best Buy, among others. So basically, big box retailers occupy a large space or more than 50,000 square feet, and they offer various products. So this is very important. So unlike smaller local businesses, big box stores profit from high sales volume instead of high prices. So this allows consumers to save money on big ticket items and purchase goods in bulk, okay? And big box retailers also typically offer an efficient, no-frills shopping experience, and customers can comfortably browse for hours or get what they need and be on their way. Okay, so this is you can browse on the internet, or you can just go to the store itself and you can be on your way quickly. And you also need to understand is that when we talk about big box in today's conversation, we are going to talk to you about the benefits of selling your products in big box stores, how to sell to big box retailers, how to introduce your products to Walmart, Target, and Whole Foods Market. We have taken a few examples. How do you find the right store for your product? How to make your products pop with custom displays, okay? So this is basically the agenda of today's conversation. But one thing I want to say right off the bat, please, you want to begin with questions. So before you try to make the leap to multi-unit retail, please ask yourself this question. Does your product fit a demand just waiting to be tapped? In other words, have you done the research? Have you investigated? Have you already found a multi-unit retailer that is a great fit for your product? Talk to me about that. What is it about your product that would be wonderful, that will be compelling, that will make a buyer see fit to take a chance on your product? If you land the deal, can your production handle the volume? This is very, very important. And do you want to sell your product directly to the retailer? Or do you want to license your product to a manufacturer who will then distribute it for you? So those are questions I want you to think about deeply before you embark on this journey. Let me talk to you about the strategy. So when we talk about strategizing, you need to have a specific mindset. Why market your products in big box stores? Why? Well, first of all, profitability, right? You have economies of scale, you have volumes. This is important because everybody's thinking about, well, nowadays we're doing shopping online. Yeah, that's true. But people are still going to big box stores. People are still going to shopping malls. People love the experience of going physically to a shopping mall, going physically to a big box store, touch the products, maybe try it on, see if they like it before buying it. So we do have this duality here. And one of the reasons why you want to market your product in big box stores is that people are still buying in physical stores. Okay, this is really important. And so when we talk about physical markets, we are speaking about a market where buyers can purchase goods or services from a seller. So the market may be physical, like a retail store, but it could also be online. But here in this show, we are speaking about physical markets. Very important. And one thing you need to understand is that when we have the dichotomy between retail and online retail, there is really not a dichotomy, really. it's just mythical here because folks do both. Okay, for certain products, people want to go online, and for other products, people want to go to a physical store. So some consumers want to touch the products. You have to understand that when you go to a big box retail store, there is an easier return process. Okay, consumers spend more money when you are able to be in a store yourself and touch the product and see the products. You are more likely to spend more. Okay, as opposed to going on Amazon or Etsy or eBay. I'm not really, I'm not saying that those are bad, but I'm just saying that the experience is different. And physical markets enable discovery, and for us, this is really important. Okay, and so overall, you need to think about the fact that the store may not be open 24/7, and here I'm talking to you about the drawbacks. And customers cannot avoid crowds. So if you are speaking about a big box store, chances are you might have some crowds. So if you don't want to wait in line, you don't want to leave your home, then you want to maybe you might want to bypass the whole big box retail experience. So you want to sell a big box store because large companies may stick around longer. You can reach more people. You will benefit from their marketing strategies. You can evolve with consumers, and big box stores are kind of familiar. And what are the best products for big box stores? Well, you have everything from food, beer, wine and liquor. You have books and music, pet foods and supplies. You have electronics and computers, sports equipment, health and beauty products, and so on and so forth. And one thing I want to say here is that, and this list evolves all the time. Let's talk about marketing, folks. How do you market your products to retailers? One thing you need to really think about here is that a big box retailer is also a regular business. So you need to do a pitch. You need to find a way to explain to them the benefits of your products. Why is your product so compelling that they should agree to display it in their store? And you have to understand, success does not happen overnight. It takes time. It takes preparation. It takes discipline. Okay. How do you prepare your product for sale? It's very important to understand that before you even think about marketing to retailers, you need to prepare your product and build your brand. Those are important. Those are quintessential elements you need to think about before even reaching out to a company. So create a unique product. You want to create a product that is compelling, that is competitively priced. Okay. You want to know your product inside out. Please, this is important. Don't go out there and doing a pitch and they're asking you a question and you're like, no. You have to know your product inside out. This is your product. You made it. Know the product inside out. You want to pay attention to the packaging. Packaging is part of branding. It's very important. That's the first impression that the big box retailers will see. So pay attention to that. You also want to build a website. Talk to me about it. Do you have a website right now? Nowadays, it's just so cheap to have a website. You have no excuse of not having a website. You got to have a professionally designed website. If you have the resources, you want to outsource the whole thing. You also need to create a sales sheet. This is important because you want to actually have all the elements that are needed to when you are pitching. You want to have the most important elements you can tell the big box retailer. You want to offer a product line. It's also good to always have variety here. Consider the retailer's needs. This is important. And you want to pick the right retailer, please. If you manufacture, for example, plumbing tools, you probably will be better off pitching to Lowe's instead of Whole Foods Market, right? You want to build demand for the product. You want to know your production capacity. I'll speak about production capacity later on, but this is important. You want to also think about and establish your terms when you discuss with the buyer. You want to prepare your pitch. This is important. And consider trade shows. Who knows? You might find a big box retailer or a vendor or a buyer working for this retailer at trade shows. So it's always important to see how you can market yourself, how you can promote your product. You also need to think about building brand affinity. This is important. So when we think about brand affinity, we are speaking about the harmony, the connection, the symbiosis that your audience feels with your brand, usually resulting from a sense of shared values. So think about that. You want to know your brand personality. You want to know your customers, your target audience. You want to build trust. You also want to build the social media pages. While doing all that, please do me a favor. think about communicating thoughtfully. It's important. Make sure all forms of communication reflect your brand's personality. So this includes email, direct mail, replies, posts, comments, and any other message you send to your audience. Let's talk about selection. If your goal is to sell your product in big box stores, you need to be very careful in terms of selection. Find the right big box store for your products. I've spoken about that earlier. You need to know that there has to be a harmony. There has to be harmony rather between your products and the store you're considering. No two stores are the same, but all big box retailers, they look for ways to keep up with consumers, and they also want to pay attention to the quality of the products at the cheapest price. Those are the two things they pay attention to. Product must be wonderful, it must be compelling, and it must be affordable. And the question you have to ask yourself is the product consumable? Does it have attractive packaging? Is it unique and on trend? In other words, you want to go for trendy products. Okay, can the product be produced fast? And I've spoken to you about production capacity. This is really important. And is the product well priced? Price is quintessential when you are thinking about having a conversation with big box stores. I don't care how compelling your product is. I don't care how beautiful it is, how trendy it is. If your price is not good, you're not getting there. That's just what it is. Okay. So here are some tips to choose a big box store. You want to hit the stores yourself. You want to go there physically. You want to walk around and make sure that you're comfortable with the surroundings, with how the store is set up. You want to use your imagination. This is important. Okay. You have to think about, put yourself in the shoes of a typical customer. Okay. Consider your audience. You want to evaluate your product in and out. This is important. Imagine the customers who shop at your chosen big box store and consider how your product will make their lives better. It's always about adding value. It's always about making sure that you understand how your product can benefit your target audience. You want to ponder your price. I just talked about that. Very important. And let me give you a few examples. So how do you get your product in Walmart, for example? Well, Walmart, you have to think about price, of course. You want to think about quality. When you think about Walmart, I want you to think about a physical store, an e-commerce platform, a marketplace. They have direct import and they have service and non-resale. So you need to think about all the things that you have to fulfill, all the conditions you have to fulfill as a supplier. And please, if you don't have the resources to do this, you might want to think about hiring a sales rep. You can explore your local purchase program. You can be a diverse supplier if you want that, or you can attend an annual open call event. Every year, Walmart holds those events in Bentonville, Arkansas. So this is something you need to think about. And if you want to learn more about this topic, we have a video called How to Sell on Walmart Marketplace. This is for online selling, but it still applies to physical selling, if you will. And how do you get your product in Target? Well, Target also has a great supplier program, and their rules are not that different. But if you want to start the process, just review the Target's rules of use, responsible sourcing programs, and vendor code of conduct. So that's something you need to think about. And if you're interested in the topic, we have also a video called How to Sell on Target Marketplace. This will teach you a lot. And how do you get your product in Whole Foods Market? The process is kind of similar also. The only thing is with Whole Foods Market, they are paying attention to what they call specific quality standards. And this, you also need to sign up for something called Ranch Me. So that's their platform, and you need to create a profile. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about how to get your product into big box store. Okay, big box stores. And I want to talk to you quickly about pitching. And it's important to understand that you want to approach retail stores to sell your products. You want to approach them in a very, very strategic way. How you approach a store to sell your product mainly depends on the retailer. Okay, it's very important. Different stores have different supplier requirements. So if a buyer decides they want to meet with you after reviewing your application or company information, you will likely need to prepare a pitch to demonstrate your product's value. This is important, and this happens all the time. And how do you actually pitch strategically to a vendor, to a big box store buyer, for example? Make sure that you bring the finished products with you. Don't talk to me about PowerPoint presentation. I want to see the product itself. Okay, you want to keep the introduction short. This is very important. You want to actually exude confidence. As you are talking, buyers should see in you somebody who is optimistic about their product, somebody who believes that there is a market for it, someone who has done the research. You want to exude confidence. You want to focus on value. You only want to focus on the value of your products in terms of how they change, how they better, how they improve the consumers' lives. Solve problems. Very important. Listen actively. You will need to know your cost, okay? Know your cost so that you can set a price. You need to have a strategy where you are able to explain how and where your product will fit into the store, and be prepared to give placement recommendations. And be brief. Okay, overall, we're talking about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Don't go there with a 2-hour presentation. No. You also want to bring a sales sheet. Okay, so you want to leave a product sales sheet with a buyer. So the sales sheet should look professional and feature colorful images, product specifications, and benefits. Okay, and one thing I also want to say here is that you need to learn how to write a letter to sell your products, because in some cases the buyer is not physically able to see you, so you can write a letter to sell your products. And this is something you can do. Make sure that the subject line is brief. Also, it has to describe your products. You want to greet the buyer by their first name. Very important. You want to briefly state why you appreciate their store. There are a lot of things. We do have another show coming that will talk about how to write a letter to sell your products, but overall, you want to appear and sound professional. And please don't forget to always follow up. So after the pitch or after you send a letter, you could wait for 2 weeks or 1 month, and after that you want to follow up. It is important. Okay, if they've taken the time, for example, to listen to you at a pitch, chances are you have made a good impression on them, so they might be willing to give you a second chance or a third chance. So if you're not hearing from them, give them a call or email them or write them a letter, whatever, but you need to follow up. Let me quickly talk to you about displaying, folks. We are still having a conversation about how to get your product into big box stores, right? And let's talk about displaying. Displaying is important. So right off the bat, I want to say here that you want to get your product in stores with custom displays. It's all about differentiating yourself. It's all about showing the consumer that your product is great and your brand is different, and that your brand is superior to competitors, that your brand has something, there must be something that attracts the buyers to your brand. And this is something you need to think about. So retail displays are important. Okay, one thing you need to understand is that displays can cause consumers to pause and explore a new product. They have the power to make customers stop, turn and pick up an item for sale. So make your products stand out from other items. You can use a display to raise brand awareness, to provide extra space to educate consumers about a product, allow you to place items in a store strategically. You can provide a cost-effective way to advertise a product. Okay, a great display also offers key tools for promoting sales and creating a sense of urgency. All those big promos, all those big sales, you're able to use the display to show retailers how you want your product to appear in their store. It also enables you to save a retailer time by promoting your brand for them. And you offer a way to showcase your product and draw a buyer's attention at a trade show. So this is really, really important. And here are, in our view, the best types of displays for big box stores. So you have the end caps. So those are placed at the end of aisles. You have the dump bins. Those are large containers that typically go where there's more space, such as in a power aisle. You have sidekicks. So those are small and lightweight and typically complement end cap displays. You have countertops. So countertop displays are lightweight point of sale displays. You have inline. So those are displays that are space-saving containers designed to sit on a counter or shelf. You have pallet displays. So those are designed for placement on top of a pallet. You have floor displays. So floor displays are a freestanding unit that encompass most of the displays listed earlier. So bottom line here is that you want to stand out with custom displays. Okay, if you have a great product you can't wait to sell in a major retailer, you deserve an effective display. So even if your product's packaging catches customers' eyes, you need to have an attractive, irresistible display to engage consumers and encourage them to interact with your product, learn more about its value, and have a memorable in-store experience. I want to talk to you now about planning, folks. Planning is so quite essential here. So the bottom line, when we talk about planning, there are a lot of things you need to think about. First of all, please prepare for increased production volume. This is important. If you are thinking about a big box store, you have to think about big production. Chances are, if your product is great and compelling and consumers love it, you are going to ramp up production. Okay, so this will mean a whole new volume of production for you. Both you and the retail buyer need to know and believe that you are prepared to ramp up the numbers. This is important. And you need to know that your manufacturer can handle that volume while maintaining quality. It's all about quality and volume, quality and quantity. Okay, you also want to plan ahead for profit. So before you even think about becoming a multi-unit chains vendor, you need to make sure that you can build a reasonable profit margin into your product's wholesale price. Remember, the big box store is going to try to lower the price as much as possible, and your goal is to make sure that you increase the price as much as possible. So it's all about finding that nice balance, that nice middle price, if you will. So it's important, and you want to fill out the vendor application for other vendors. What I'm trying to say here is that simply because you have been accepted into Walmart doesn't mean that you can stop applying for Target or Rite Aid or Walgreens unless in your contract, in your supplier contract, Walmart has sought exclusivity. So if they're asking you to exclusively sell to them, then you can't apply for other vendors. If not, you want to diversify your strategy. You want to put all your eggs in different baskets. So you want to apply with several vendors. It's important. And you also want to follow up. It's very important. Please follow up. I also want to talk to you about making sure that you constantly market your products. Obviously, once your product is in a big box store, you have exposure, you have the visibility. That's true. That's wonderful. But you need to keep on marketing your products. You need to follow your product performance. Is your product, performing well in terms of revenue, in terms of creating buzz? Okay, and you can do this by occasionally going to a random store. You can look at the numbers, but you can also go to a random store and see how customers interact with your products. So this kind of intel will help you in terms of improving the products, in terms of raising the price or reducing the price, in terms of marketing the products to a larger audience. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. Today I was talking to you about how to get your product into big box stores, and I talked to you about the overview that you need to have about this topic, how to strategize, how to market your product. We spoke about selection, we spoke about pitching, we spoke about displaying, and last but not the least, we spoke about planning. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will speak to you next time. Thank you.